What is up, creatives? This is Tom. Welcome back to another video. In this one, what we're going to be talking about is this. This is the Sony A7 III, and this is the SmallRig updated 2020 camera cage for this camera. They've just sort of updated their line. It really is looking pretty killer now, so I thought what I would do is sort of strip down the build like I always do in these camera rig builds. This is a totally handheld rig, so this is the sort of, I guess, a run and gun style videography setup for the A7 III. So as you can see, the updated sort of core of the rig is this updated SmallRig cage. This is just a sort of basic A7 III SmallRig cage, and then all of these accessories are sort of mounted on top of this. It's designed, or I've designed this to basically have these sort of two main points of contact. And the purpose behind this build, the nice thing about the A7 III is that it has so many amazing features built in. The autofocus on this camera is absolutely incredible, as is things like the battery life and the stabilization on the camera. So it means that you don't really have to almost like play around with the rig to try and fix a lot of things. So what you can do is just get sort of as creative as possible and give yourself a setup that you just like shooting with. So for me, that is a setup like this. I have a left handle and a right handle, and I have a monitor. So those are almost like the things that I want to fix with this camera. I don't bother with additional batteries. I think the battery life on the A7 III is actually pretty cracking. I can shoot for pretty much a whole day with just two of the basic default Sony batteries. So I just use an NPF battery on this monitor, and that basically gives me shooting for a full day and 2 points of good contact, so you still get a sort of nice handheld look without getting tons of micro jitters. And it really is a fantastic little setup for the A7 III whilst keeping everything relatively compact. So like I said, let's strip this down and we can go through it piece by piece. All right, so here's all of the stuff for the rig. We've got obviously the A7 III here, the sort of main camera for the rig, the top handle, the side handle, and then a few other bits which I'll sort of introduce as we go. This is the new SmallRig updated cage for the A7 III, and I have to say it's probably one of the most beautiful camera cages that I've ever used. I think they've done a really nice job sort of tapering off all the edges. I really like the accent color, the sort of dark machine gun gray on the camera. They just look really nice. So let's screw that in. You can see that we just sort of insert the camera just like this. There we go, so we just insert them like that, and then we have the little screw at the bottom here, so we can just screw that in. Now, the nice thing about this version of the cage is that it actually comes with a little sort of multi-tool here. This is a sort of little SmallRig multi-tool, so we can just use that to screw in the 1/4-20 thread, just like this. Keep going. That's all in, and if you want to make this sort of an even more secure setup, I would recommend taking off these little sort of things on the camera strap attachments on the A7 III, but I think for now we're probably all right just to proceed. So as you can see, that's the sort of main cage on the camera. So now we're going to put on the handle. So this is actually a top handle. It's obviously designed ideally to go on the top of your camera like this, and it means you can sort of have sort of hand stable shots just like this. But I'm actually going to use the top space, or the space on the top of the camera rig, for the monitor, as you saw earlier. So we can screw this in here. And I've changed the orientation of the screws. You can either do it vertical, so it can go on the side of a mount, or you can do it sort of horizontal, so it can go on the top of a mount. But I'm going to just screw that in over here. Really doesn't take very long, and that's pretty much stable there, just like that. Then we have the side handle configuration. Now this is a little bit more complicated. It won't actually come like this, so maybe let's just strip this down super quick. This is the sort of setup that you'll get given, or when you actually unbox this wooden side handle. So you basically, all you do is just thread this through. So we will thread it through this direction, because we obviously want our mount to be a left hand hold. So we just get this little connection with the two screws here, and pretty quickly we can screw that in, tighten that up, and then you've got the left handle all completely functional. And then what we're going to do is find the connection pins here, and then we can just screw that in And there we go, that's nice and secure there as well. So we've got both of these side handles on the setup, as you can see. It's looking pretty nice. Now the bits that are left are obviously the monitor. Now for the mount, I'm using this monitor mount. This is just this sort of SmallRig alternating monitor mount, but it's got a hot shoe or cold shoe adapter on the top. So I'm gonna screw that in actually to the inbuilt hot shoe, cold shoe on the SmallRig, on the A7 III, excuse me. So I'm not going to use this mount off to the side because I want to keep the weight central over the camera. So we can screw that on. Nice and easy. And then I have the Atomos Shinobi monitor. This is the same monitor that I use for my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera build. So it's just a fantastic little monitor, really quite lightweight, but really impressive and feature packed. Not the most expensive monitor as well. I think this is going to run you about $400, which is pretty good for a professional grade monitor. So then we also have the battery pack of choice. This is the Sony NPF. This is a Sony NPF battery. Pretty large, means that I can shoot for pretty much a whole day with the Atomos Shinobi, and I just charge up a couple of these on a shoot day, and that just slots onto the back here of the Shinobi, and then you just connect this to with HDMI connection into the HDMI port on the side, and that is the rig built there. So it is pretty much a maybe like a 5-minute build process. Really is pretty simple, but so effective. Such a gorgeous and ergonomic setup. Using the top handle and the left handle. You could also just go for another sort of left-right handle here, and if you wanted the same setup, but I do think it's quite nice to have the versatility of having a top handle just in case you wanted to mount it on the top occasionally and give yourself that setup configuration option as well. That's the nice thing about these cages, they're just so versatile. There we go, guys. I hope you did enjoy that video, sort of breaking down and going through my A7 III Camera Rig. If you have any questions about the rig or the setup, just let me know in the comments down below. I would absolutely love to answer any questions that you have on this guy. Obviously, all the parts and things will be linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, I will catch you guys in the next one.